Assembly! MiniWarGaming's Beat the Cooler Bat Rep!
Turn 2 begins. We've got the Cauldron once again giving the Spearman a 5-up ward save, and the Hydra now advances up just a little bit, getting into the 8 inches so that he has to throw out his Goblins. And one of the Fanatics does actually hit the Hydra, which is definitely bad news because it's all Armor Pierce and Strength 5 and tons of damage, but he does make both of his regens. And the last Goblin doesn't quite make it either. And then the Hydra completes its movement and just goes around. So it goes around the Goblins right there. This Hydra moves over towards the Spiders, and the magic phase begins, getting a whopping 11 dice. And he tries to channel using the pillar, but fails to get any channels either. I try and do the Burning Head once again along those units and into the catapult, but he does dispel it. And now I try and use my Fireball, maximum level Fireball, so it will be 3d6 hits. And it goes off without miscasting, so I get another 11 hits, and does 5 wounds right there, and he fails 4 of them, or 3 of them, but he ends up down to 5 wounds regardless, whatever the number was there. And the Hydra then uses its breath weapon, killing, I think, 14 or 15 Goblins right off the bat, and so they lose a big chunk of their number. And the other Hydra uses its breath weapon right here on 6 of the Spiders, and kills a number 5 of them. So they take big hits. Now the crossbows start firing at the Arachnorak Spider, and does a bunch of wounds, or a bunch of hits rather, a few wounds, and he fails all 3 of those, so he's down to 2 wounds already. And now I fire at it with my archers that are in the 2nd rank that are up on the hilltop, and they get tons of shots, bunch of hits, a couple wounds, and he fails those saves as well. And so unfortunately that is the end of his large spider, and he has to do a panic check, which the Goblin archers do panic, and they run 7 inches heading towards the table edge, and the other Goblins, they're actually alright, so they hold their ground. The fight here begins. He throws down his nets first. The Dreadlord challenges, but no one wants to fight him, so he runs his Goblin Shaman away, running to the back of the pile, and so the fight begins. First we've got the Dreadlord attacking, though technically the Assassin goes first. Dreadlord kills 1. The Assassin now attacks, hitting on 3s, and he's continuing to reroll because he has always strikes first and a higher initiative. So he gets to reroll every round, but he doesn't do any wounds. The rest of the Spearmen get to attack, and they no longer have their Hatred rerolls, and they are hitting 5s and 6s to wound, and he makes his save. They don't kill any, I only killed 1. He attacks back now with all of his little Goblins and Lords there, but he only does 2 wounds, which still would be enough, but I make my armor save, and I fail my ward save, so I go down by 1. But I think we ended up tying combat after everything was established, or I think I made my save, regardless. Anyway, Goblin's turn 2 begins, and he's rolling for his Animosity here, and he ends up getting it so that his Goblin Wolf Riders have to charge the nearest unit, which is alright, because that's what he wanted to do anyway. And now he's just declaring his charges there, so the Spiders charge in against the Hydra, and they make that charge easily. And now the Goblins charge into the Hydra right here. He rolls a dice, but really, we knew he was going to make that charge. And so they charge in, and these guys, they actually make it. They need like a 10, and they ended up making their charge. So they run pretty much half the board and hit my archers in the flank. And these Goblins, they fail their leadership to try and rally, and they continue to run, and they go right off the board at that point. So the archers are gone, but he still has lots of units. So now his Trolls failed stupidity once more, and they stumble forward another inch because he only rolled a 1, and their magic phase begins. He does get a channel, I do not. He does Sneaky Stabbing on himself, which goes off, or does not go off, I believe. And now he tries to do Sneaky Stabbing on his Wolf Riders, but I do cancel that with my Wizard. The first Fanatic kills himself. He rolls double for which direction it moves. The next Fanatic, it goes 5 inches, but it actually goes directly into the Goblins between the Hydra and the Fanatic and hits just the Goblins, and he killed 6, and he kills 6. So 6 of the Goblins are killed by that Fanatic, and the last Fanatic, he rolls doubles once again, and so it is killed as well. Definitely not good there. He tries to throw his catapult at my archers, and he gets a misfire, so it can't shoot this turn, and now it cannot shoot the following turn either. The fight begins between the Hydra and its Beast Handlers against the Spider Riders, and the Beast Handlers do 2 wounds, and he fails one of those saves, so he loses one of his Spiders. Now we forgot to roll for Terror, which would have been a big difference right here, but not a big deal really. He failed to do any wounds, so we're good. And then the goblins all get to attack, and now we remember to roll it. There we go. And he does get a wound, or rather he gets a few hits, but no wounds. The Hydra attacks back, 7 attacks, re-rolling to hit because it also has Eternal Hatred, wounding on 2s, squishing 5 of the Goblin Riders right there. And he rolls his leadership, which he fails, and I try and keep my Hydra back so it does not pursue, and the Goblins end up running clear off the table, and the Hydra turns around, aiming for the center. The fight here begins between the Dreadlord and everyone else. His nets go off fine, and his fear is passed easily. So my Dreadlord attacks. He only hits once, or no, this is the Assassin going first, the way it should have been. The Assassin attacks, hitting 3 times, wounding on 5s, but he does get an instant kill wound. Now the Dreadlord attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, and he kills 3 of the Goblins as well. Now the rest of them, these 3 try and aim for his Sorcerer, who's on the far left, and they do get a hit, but they don't do any wounds. And now the rest attack the unit with hitting on 3s, wounding on 5s. He get 1 wound, and he fails one of the saves, and so he loses 1 there. He attacks back with his Goblins, trying to just do as many wounds as possible. Gets a bunch of hits, but I fail. Out of the 6 wounds that he did, I only fail 1, so he loses combat. He actually breaks, and my Dreadlord runs him down along with his Spearman there. 11 inches, so they just go barreling through that unit of Goblins. The only fights left are the Hydra and the Wolf Rider. The Hydra's handler's attack, hitting 3. Then we remember to use his nets, which then reduces their strength, so they only do 2 wounds, but they still kill 2, because their attacks are armor pierce. He gets all of his Goblins in the front rank there to attack back, and I make my regen. Now the Hydra attacks, once again, hitting on 3s, re-rolling. Gets 7 hits, and then he stomps for 1 more, because I just roll them all together. He doesn't get saves against any of it anyway, and it kills like 7 or 8 more Goblins, and they fail their leadership, so they have to run, and the Hydra does catch them exactly, and so that is another unit of Goblins gone, and the Hydra runs up. The last fight over here, we've got the Wolf Riders against the Dark Elves themselves. The Dark Elves get to go first. They hit with 2 because they do get their hatred still, and they do 2 wounds. And he fails one of the saves, so he loses a Wolf Rider. The 4 Wolf Riders that remain, though, they attack back. They hit twice, and they do a wound, or they do 2 wounds, but... Oh no, then the Riders had to attack, that's right. He did 2 wounds in the end, and I lose one of my archers. After counting everything, it is a tie combat, and the Dark Elves reform. Yeah, I know. This is the board at the end of the game. Not those guys over there. They're dead. I didn't think this would happen. I mean, I knew that I was playing Dark Elves, but I didn't...
You say that every time you face my Goblins. You're like, I didn't think this would happen. I didn't think I'd absolutely slaughter you.
It just... yeah, I guess. So in the end, he killed 2 Spearmen, an Archer, and did wound to my Hydra.
You have to remember, Owen, I don't have near competitive or a good army at all, because I just got an eBay army. I wasn't able to build it from scratch, nor do I do anything.
I know.
So slowly learning. Don't put your commander front. That's #1 lesson of this game.
Don't let your general get shot down when your entire army depends on him. Or make your general actually have gear so he doesn't die from what he gets hit by.
He would have died still.
If you had like a save and ward save, my general would have lived. If you hit him with the same stuff, if I didn't
have the ultimate,
because I put stuff on him.
The ultimate items that cost less than my crappy items.
If I gave him just heavy armor, he would have had a 3+ save against all that shots. Everything I shot at you, if you possible. So that's one option. Wear armor. I guess that wolf doesn't count either. He died too. They got charged. They lost. Well, they tied, and then we reframed. Formed. All right. Stay tuned, MiniWarGamers. We're going to play some more fantasy.